Let's get everyone. We're friends now. Yes. But it was fun. Well, good morning. Oh, there we go. Now that's getting better. Good morning. Happy Saturday, District 5. How are you? Good morning. Now, first things first, I want to ask you sitting back, please come on up. Let's act like you can, because we got a lot of really, really good information. I want to I'd like to also say a big welcome to our participants on Zoom. This is our identified Deed Fraud Town Hall. Thank you so much for coming. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over for welcome remarks from our council member, Mary Waters at large, and Beta Miller, District 5. Council members. Go ahead. Welcome, District 5. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Testing. Okay. Welcome District 5 to our first deed fraud protection meeting. I want to welcome everyone here that came out today. This is very near and dear to me because first, let me thank Mary Waters for bringing her team and her dedicated staff to rolling out the deed fraud protection in the city of Detroit. Unwavering tenacity to help residents protect their legacy, their investments has been definitely a great need. And I'm hearing that these have continued to grow. And I just thank you for her allowing me to host her and her staff today. So everyone that came out today, deed fraud is important to me. I am a legacy homeowner. My family, for example, has been in District 5 for 90 years in District 3. My grandparents, great-grandparents, my parents. And we were able to pass down. When I came home to Tuskegee, I was first able to purchase for $7,500 my parents' home. I thought it should have been free, but they wanted me to work for it. And I was able to gain what you can use for collateral to make purchases, to help my credit grow. And now my daughter, who's 37 years old, have my parents' home. So without that protection, without that knowledge, we have to be equipped so we can protect our investments. And even recently, as far as probably the last 4 or 5 years ago, there was residents in my neighborhood trying to steal my home from me because I was sick and I was ill and I was disabled, not coherent. But some people told me to check out my situation. So I just want to say it is important that we stay on top of what belongs to us, what is for us, because even now in the age of development, people want our farms. So let's get this information, take down notes. Feel free to ask to back up if you have to. You can make sure you have the correct information. And I look forward to talking to you afterwards. Thank you for joining us this early Saturday morning.
So good morning, D5. I'm Mary Waters, your council member at large. I represent the whole D. And so it is certainly an honor to be here this morning. And I'm so happy that Member Miller is participating with us. You know, District 5 of all the districts, and we've been around to all of this districts so far, District 5 had the lowest numbers in terms of deed fraud, which is basically why we came here last. You know, the rest of them had 90 something, 100 and something. District 5, there were 40. That the Wayne County Register of Deeds was able to identify. Now, it doesn't mean that the numbers are not higher, because we just don't know. But the important thing is that we do what? We protect our generational wealth, we protect our legacy, and it's also about dignity as well. So I am so happy that people around this city have taken the opportunity to receive this most invaluable information that our panelists have brought. And let's give our panelists a round of applause. They've been so diligent. They've really been diligent, and I've got to tell you, we really appreciated them coming out, giving of their times to help educate our community. And so make sure that you left your email addresses because we want to keep you updated. We want to make sure that you sign up on the Wayne County Register of Deeds alert system. If you have, even if for your own property or for an investment property, whatever that might be, side lot, whatever, it is still your property, right? So I'm gonna be quiet now, and I'm gonna allow the panelists to get started so they can give you this most valuable information, all right? Back to you, Santana Joanna.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm loud enough. Thank you, Councilmember.
Now, now you know you need that microphone for recording.
All right. The next voice you are going to hear from is going to be Miss Joanna Underwood, who is our senior housing policy specialist and a longtime housing advocate in the city of Detroit. Joanna?
Thank you. Okay, is this on now? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, thank you so much, Santana, our chief of staff. Thank you, Councilmember Waters. Thank you to the lovely panelists. I got a surprise. We got one more.
Uh-oh.
I just want to let you know. I'll tell you afterwards. District 5, what's up? How y'all doing? I'm glad to see that y'all came out. As Councilmember Waters said, we picked 5 as the last is because we only have 40 cases, but I want to make this very clear. That's the 40 cases that was reported. Okay, a lot of people didn't know what to do when it comes up to deed fraud. So just because they didn't report it, doesn't mean a crime, a deed fraud wasn't committed. I want to make that very clear because we know it was a lot of foreclosed property here in District 5. We know a lot of people lost their homes over here. So we also know by research that foreclosed property, vacant property, and heirs property has been the #1 target for these scammers and the process of stealing generational wealth. So I'm going to talk about quitclaim deeds versus warranty deeds. And I'm going to give you a brief history on how we got here. But I first need to ask you a couple of questions before we start. How many of you are homeowners? Okay. All right. How many of y'all looked at y'all deeds before y'all got to the meeting? It never fails. Okay, let me ask you this question. How much property taxes you pay? How many people know how much property taxes they pay per year? Okay, so you know how much your property taxes is, right? Okay, so you don't know, you haven't looked at your deed in a while. So if I tell you, do you have a quitclaim deed or a warranty deed? How many people would know if they have a quitclaim deed? Okay. Okay. How many people know if they got a warranty deed? How many people know what kind of deed they got at all?
Nobody.
How many people know the importance of a deed? Everybody's hand should be raised. How do you know if you own that property? Because you got a deed and you paid some money and they said, well, you own this property. That's how you know. That's what she said. That's how she know. Okay. Okay. We're going to talk about that because you said your name was on it. That don't mean nothing either. Okay. We're going to talk about how did we get here? Well, a little brief history on Black homeownership in America. Okay. A lot of our people came up from the South when the great migration from the South to the North. In the process of them coming up from the South to the North, a lot of them worked in factories. And unfortunately, the banking institution, since its founding, has been practicing housing discrimination for the most part of its whole history in regards to the African-American community. It wasn't until the 1960s, I believe, I know in the 1960s, the Fair Housing Act was passed. And even though the Fair Housing Act was passed to end housing discrimination in America, housing discrimination is still very prevalent to this day. It hasn't changed as much. When banking institutions operate in our community, they're supposed to operate as financial lending institutions. That means when you put money in the bank, right, it's not just there to store your money, okay? The financial lending institution means they're supposed to lend that money back out. And they lend that money back out to our community through what? Mortgage loans, business loans. Those are the two main loans that in the African-American community, we are being denied. They will give you a car loan. They'll give you a car loan in a minute. But I challenge any one of you to go apply for a business loan. You can have 800 credit score and go try to apply for a business loan. Or try to get one of these houses over here that's not going for $400,000 and see how much that down payment going to be. Okay? So we know, housing advocates, experts, we know that housing discrimination is going on. We know that it's prevalent in the African-American community, but we do not have enough people organized to fight against the big banks, okay? But even though all of that happened, we know this history. Guess what? Our elders, our ancestors was resilient. They didn't let discrimination stop them in any way, shape, or form when it comes up to attaining the American dream. Guess what they did? They saved up their hard-earned money, check by check. And they didn't have to apply for loans because guess what? They bought their property in cash or they did land contract. And when you buy property in cash or you do a land contract, when you do any kind of real estate, right? You don't want to do real estate transaction and receive a quick claim deed. You want to know why? Because quick claim deed do not guarantee ownership. Reason why I don't guarantee ownership, it don't guarantee a clear title, which means just because I say, hey, I want to sell you a house, right? Okay, that don't mean that I own that house. I might have interest in the property, but that don't make me the sole owner of the house, okay? So a quick claim deed is just me transferring the interest over to you. I might not have that interest to transfer over, okay? So quick claim deeds, it's not the best deeds to use when you're buying property as far as real estate transactions, okay? They are suitable if you're passing down property to your family generationally, okay? Because I know Big Mom, I know Mama, I know daughter, auntie, uncles, I know my families, even though sometimes they steal your property too. But I'm just saying, I know my family well enough to know that I could transfer this property over to them. So quick claim deeds is not the best deeds to do real estate transaction when you're currently trying to buy property. And that include land, side lots, even though that's what you're going to get when you buy side lots in cash, okay? So most of the cash transactions for a side lot will be quick claim deeds, but our panel is going to tell you how to protect both of these deeds and go more in detail about quick claim deeds and warranty deeds, okay? But I just want to give you an understanding of where we are and how we got here so you can know a thorough understanding of what the task is, because beyond these deed frauds meetings, you're going to have to go out to your community. You're going to have to go out to your church. You're going to have to go out to your family, and y'all have to spread this information by word of mouth, because deed fraud only can be prevented by knowledge, by education. Okay. It's not, you don't know if you robbed until you got robbed, right? So we want to be proactive, not reactive. And these steps that you're going to learn is a proactive approach to protect your generational property for generations to come. Okay? I thank you for your time. And please, if you don't have pen and paper, please get you some, get a pen, write everything down. And I'm gonna bring it to my colleague, Santana Hill, to talk about entanglement titles.
Thank you so much, Ms. Underwood, for that thorough explanation of how we got here. So, why is this important? My name is Santana Hill, and I'm the Chief of Staff to Councilmember Waters, and I have also served in the housing space. And one of the things that we have noticed is, like Joanna said, you don't know that you've been robbed until you've been robbed, and you can't turn back the clock. So today, you're going to learn how to stop it in its tracks. And why is it important that you protect your home from deed fraud? It's important because once you are robbed of your greatest asset, it takes time, money, and knowledge to be able to get it back. You don't want to lose your home. Once you have a cloud on your title, it becomes hard for you to borrow equity in your home. It becomes hard for you to negotiate with the Wayne County Treasurer's Office for a payment plan. It becomes hard for you to make sure that that asset is left to your next generation. So today, you're going to learn how to protect yourself, and you're going to learn how to get help on the back end. Now, like Joanna said, you're going to learn a lot today. So I've got some key terms that I would like you all to write down and remember, okay? Get your pen and paper ready. The first word that I'd like you to write down, you've heard it a lot, title. Title, T-I-T-L-E, title. You've heard the term quit claim deed. Write that down. Quit, Q-U-I-T, claim, C-L-A-I-M, deed. You've heard this term already as well. Warranty deed. Warranty deed. Title search is going to be your next key term. Title search. Title insurance. Title insurance is going to be your next key term. Now, the people we have on this panel have been housing advocates for a very long time. And as Joanna mentioned, Detroit has a unique relationship with the banking industry. That means a lot of us did not purchase our homes with the assistance of a bank, a title company, or with a mortgage. Some of us purchased with land contracts. Some of us participated in rent-to-own agreements. And there are considerations that you have to make when you have purchased non-traditionally. For example, if you've purchased with a land contract, there are situations where you need to take that land contract down to the Register of Deeds and record it so that someone else knows that you have been paying into that home so that you can get title, that's one of your key terms, which means ownership. So today, you're going to hear from Ted Phillips of the United Community Housing Coalition. You're going to hear from Robert Donald of Lakeshore Legal Aid. You're going to hear from Emma Elder of Detroit Title and Escrow, Suzanne Fanning of Suzanne Fanning PC. You're going to hear from David Cross, General Counsel of 36th District. And if Judge Clay gets here, you will also hear from a 36th District Court judge. I really want to impress upon you the importance of this information. And please, write down those key terms. Write down when you hear them. And remember, we will have time for open Q&A. So please, if you have a question, write it down so that when we come to you for open Q&A, you'll be able to remember and engage with our panelists. We also have participants on Zoom. And please, please, each one teach one. When you leave this meeting today, you're going to get follow-up from this office. Every person on our sign-in sheet will be emailed and contacted and will have access to the resources that you have been given today. So with that, the voice you will hear for the next 10 minutes is going to be Ted Phillips of the United Community Housing Coalition.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Is that on? Okay. Okay. Yeah, my name is Ted Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of the United Community Housing Coalition. I have been there since 1986. Spent a couple of years in the Archer administration and public housing. So when I talk about things that happened in the past, distant past, and comparing them to now, there are some flyers at the intake time. At the intake check-in, I would urge you to pick those up. They have numbers and ways to contact us for various programs that we engage in. We provide legal assistance in 36th District Court. We're one of 5 agencies that do that. We work with 3 in particular partners that subcontract with us. There are over 20,000 cases a year in 36th District Court. And that's the good news, because before COVID, there was over 30,000. They result in about a 25% default rate. What does that mean? That means 25% of the time, parties don't show up. Why don't they show up? Often what we hear is that they don't get noticed. They're not aware of it. Mail system in Detroit since 2020, and I think most people here are old enough to figure out why that is and why it still continues to be, is a problem, is a huge problem. We very often see people saying that the first notice they had was when they see a default judgment in the mail. This applies to tenants. It applies to land contract buyers. It applies to anyone living in the property that has a case brought against them. It could apply to you if somebody scams, forges your name, gets a deed, and then tries to evict you. So don't ignore notices from the court, not that you would anyway, but also don't assume that if you're getting a default judgment, that the default judgment is a scam. Yes, it's part of a scam, but you need to respond to that, okay? In addition to legal representation, we also provide case management assistance for some of the folks we deal with. Some of that involves actually, it includes door knocking to get out when people miss their hearings, tenants or homeowners or land contract buyers miss their hearings. We try to go out and knock on doors to make them aware, so that they know that they need to appear in court, to try to cut down on that. We also provide some level of financial assistance. We have very little money for that. Very often it's connecting people up to financial resources to be able to do things. We also provide, to the extent that we can, help relocating. This is mostly for tenants living in property where the property is not livable, although there's occasionally a land contract person or so as well, where it's dangerous to continue to stay there. So we engage in trying to help them relocate. In addition to that, another major project, and actually the most serious problem at this very minute for persons in District 5 and all across the city, is the tax foreclosure. If you know anyone, or if you got a yellow bag notice in October, November, December, you're in jeopardy of losing your home if you don't work something out with the Wayne County Treasurer before March 31st. And one of the ways working something out is if there is a probate issue, they will pull property out of foreclosure for probate. There are payment plans and other kinds of things as well. We work with folks to help get them into the payment plans. The Treasurer's Office will do that directly as well, but it's always good to have an advocate. Getting extensions of time to pay, getting documents corrected, because if you don't have a proper recorded deed or land contract or any kind of anything like that, or a principal residency exemption, or you have bothered to do your property transfer affidavit, those are documents you file. The PRE and the property transfer affidavit are things you file with the city of Detroit after you get your land contract or your deed. So we try to get those kinds of things corrected. We also work with homeowners to get them into the HOPE program, that is to lower your taxes. If you're at a poverty level, you could potentially get a 100% exemption of your taxes. There's still a waste fee, a garbage fee that came in during the Kilpatrick administration. But at any rate, there is that, but that's a few $100s, not the same as the other. If your income is about 50% of poverty, then you can still get a reduction. I think they go all the way down to 25%. We also help, again, get homeowners in a land contract buyer is a form of home ownership, to make sure that they get their documents filed like the PRE so that they get the proper tax rate. We also have a program which is called Make It Home, which we've worked with the city of Detroit since 2017. And that program turns an awful thing, land contract foreclosure, into a positive thing for a few. We've had 1,700 homes we've been able to get through that project since then. A lot of those for tenants of properties where landlords have not paid their taxes. They've gone to foreclosure. April 1st, the Wayne County Treasurer owns it. Yes, there's an auction in the fall, but there's also an opportunity that the city has in July to take the property out of foreclosure for the taxes. So we engage in raising money to pay the city to do that. City gets the property, deeds the property to us, and we sell it to the occupant. We don't engage in vacant property, but to the occupant for what we paid for it, okay? We engage in mortgage foreclosure counseling, some, and mortgage counseling in general, some. Most of our clients are not able to get that for reasons that you've just heard explained. We have gotten a few more reverse mortgages of late, and that's something to be very mindful of, particularly if you're a senior, to be very careful about not getting into that, usually. Or if you know someone who's a senior, to, ask them questions about that. The assumption on a reverse mortgage is you're going to get a whole bunch of money to do the things you always wanted to do, or to fix up your house or whatever, and you're only going to lose it at the point where you die. Well, you lose a generational wealth that way, so that's taking that out of the equation immediately. But in addition to that, if you fall behind on the taxes, if you don't pay the insurance, or if you forget to pay the insurance, I'm 71. I forget a few things every now and then myself, so seniors sometimes do. Or if you have repair issues with the property, then you could lose your property for a foreclosure for reverse mortgage. And a lot of that's not understood. We've had an 86-year-old recently we're able to save at the last minute after redemption passed. And we've had a couple of others that we were able to intervene in before that time to help get them some resources to take care of it. We also engage, as I mentioned before, in getting the proper documents filed. Well, one area where that's particularly important is that you need to have something on record with the Wayne County Register of Deeds. I don't know if they're going to be here today or not, but you need to know that you need to do that, okay? Because if you don't have that, somebody forges your name on a deed, sells it to somebody else who knows nothing whatsoever about that, doesn't know that that's not your signature. As between you and them, they could be considered a bona fide purchaser. That's a term of art, but it means somebody who bought. Presumably they checked the title history. They showed that everything looked fine, and you could be in really, really, really big trouble. So we make sure that if there's nothing filed, we work to get something filed. There is a horrible law in the state of Michigan, which I hope eventually gets changed. But if you buy on a land contract and there's taxes owed on the property, you cannot record that land contract. Very stupid. Government at its worst. But at any rate, you can't. You can record a memorandum of land contract, which we can help draft. Or you can record what's called a claim of interest, which is just basically a statement saying, I have an interest in this property as a land contract buyer, and attach a copy of that to the documents. You need something to be on file. We also have a land contract buyout program. What's that? That's getting involved with people that have paid down to maybe $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. They've paid nearly half of what they owed. They probably put down a big deposit. They probably made a bunch of repairs to their home, and now they're running into a land contract forfeiture where the seller is trying to take the property back. We know from a study done in 2023 that for the period of 2010 to 15, they did it in 23, so there'd be enough time to show what did happen. They concluded that 5% of Detroit land contract buyers that bought from out-of-state, out-of-country investors was all that ultimately got their deeds. 95% lost the home. Purchases by Detroit, from Detroit investors and Michigan investors were 100% better. Yes, that means they got 10% got it. So most land contracts fail. Rent to own is even worse. because most of those are set up to fail. They're treated as a land contract by the seller, but when it comes down to you missing a payment, suddenly you become a tenant. Usually when we're able to litigate those, when we get them timely, we're able to convince the court that those are actually land contracts in disguise. Some things that we've experienced on this issue. One classic example of that happened last August now. One of our partner agencies, Michigan Legal Services, Suzanne Lewan was the attorney, caught a case in court because we're there every day. So one or another of our agencies are there every day. She caught a case where somebody was coming back for their hearing back because the first hearings are adjourned, second hearings the first time they're there, and saying, I don't understand this. I'm the owner of the property. Suzanne checked the court file, as we try always to do, and discovered that there was a notice of tax foreclosure, which is weird because that's not enough to show that you own anything. And then there was a deed from Holy something, LLC, a religious sounding name, to themselves. Well, that's weird. So the Holy plaintiff was represented by an attorney who said, well, my client's got other documentation. Their client wasn't there, of course, and they didn't have other documentation. And ultimately we won that case and got that case dismissed. We didn't stop there though. Suzanne looked up other cases and found, I think it was 3 others that were still pending. One other that had actually been evicted because it was in June and we got this in August. 3 others that were actually still pending. One involved a 70-year-old woman who had been in her home since she was 10 years old. Sounds like Councilman Miller's family with a long time there. She wasn't there at the moment because it needed repairs. She was staying with her daughter, who she one day hoped to give the property to, knew nothing about any of this, and had a default. It was getting a default judgment because she wasn't appearing in court because she didn't know about it. We did a door knock. We got in touch with her. We resolved that one as well as the other 2. That's what can happen if there's intervention. And we were told on all of those cases that the Deed Fraud Task Force is working seriously and diligently on them. And that is great news. It's not always been the case, but it's great news. And I'm hoping that is what's headed for us in the future. Some common circumstances that we see, I think the tax example that was given earlier is a real common one. Properties in tax foreclosure, the owner's distraught, doesn't know what to do. It ultimately gets lost. They assume the Wayne County Treasurer took it and it got sold. No, that's not what happens sometimes. Sometimes what happens is there's intervention, a forged deed, a presentation made to the Wayne County Treasurer, and they're not responsible for this. They're looking at the paperwork, so they're just doing what their job is, and they will pull it from tax foreclosure when the proper documentation is provided, even though it is forged documentation. The owner who lost it for tax foreclosure, who didn't really lose it for tax foreclosure, sometimes never finds out, sometimes does, and then challenges it. Vacant properties is another huge problem, not only with sales like this, but also with tenants renting their property from the wrong landlord. It isn't the landlord at all. Sometimes those should result always, and unfortunately an eviction being brought to the tenant who was scammed. Sometimes they involve the Detroit police escorting people out, and I think that's a huge, huge, huge mistake that Detroit needs to deal with at some point. We have one right now that was a Detroit land bank home that got sold in this fashion. Some things to look for there are, if you're dealing with somebody who never does seem to have an office to go to, but they're always meeting you there at various vacant properties, that is a real red flag. If they want anything in cash or money orders or stuff like that, again, major red flags. We have a number of cases where the owner is deceased, sometimes with a buyer a seller that is so irresponsible, so careless that they signed the deed after the person died. Usually it's not that. A lot of those are ones that are family related, and unfortunately your own family can scam you sometimes too. No recordable documents are a red flag for these. A lot of land contracts are not recordable, so you want to be careful about that and make sure you get something recorded, because sometimes what will happen with those is the seller will sell to one party, disappear, then sell to another party and then disappear. Land contract sales are a real problem. As I mentioned before, get help before you get into it. I've told clients, I can tell you what you got into. I can tell you what you're about to get into and how not to get into it if we talk beforehand. I can tell you what you got yourself into and, oh my goodness, how we're going to get out of it after. So try to get that help before. On land contracts, things like balloon payments, high interest, the written deal not matching what the oral deal is, the seller saying, well, I'm going to repair all of these things, and nowhere in the deal does that said, are all things to be careful about. Things you want to do, make sure that you record a copy of whatever you have, or if you can't record that, get something recorded. Again, agencies like ours can be out there to help. When you're buying, make sure that make sure that you're getting documentation showing what you paid, receipts and the like. I can't tell you how many times, particularly on land contracts, we get to the point of being in court and the seller is saying that there's $40,000 owed or $30,000 owed, and the buyer is saying, I paid this off. Sometimes it's not understanding how interest works. A lot of times it's not being able to verify what their payments were. I'll cut off there. I probably went over, but sorry about that, Joy. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Attorney Phillips. Now, for our folks on Zoom, how can they contact the United Community Housing Coalition?
Okay. Our general number, and it will prompt you to a bunch of others, is 313-963-3310. But if you pick up some flyers out at the intake, the check-in room, there's also some email addresses and like that you can check out there. And again, if you're in court, appear in court because we're there, or one of our partner agencies is there every day. 36th District Court I'm referring to, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Phillips. Thank you. Now, the next person you're going to hear from is Mr. Robert Donald of Lakeshore Legal Aid, who's going to talk to you a little bit about the Homes for Generations program and some other things. Take it away, Mr. Donald.
Good morning, District 5. My name is Robert Donald. I'm the managing attorney for Lakeshore Legal Aid. Mr. Phillips gave you a lot of great information. At the end of the day, once you get into the problem, which you didn't think you got into, and which Ms. Underwood and Ms. Hill talked about, when you get your property stole, it's stole. The thief usually doesn't hang around. So now you have a property that is not in your name, and the thief is gone. Lakeshore Legal Aid provides quiet title service. Quiet title is when you come to us and say, this house is my house, but the deed is not in my name. The title is not in my name. This is my house because the thief has stolen your title, and now you need to get it back. Lakeshore Legal Aid has been in the city of Detroit for over 50 years. We have a office down in Cass Corridor on 2nd Street. We have another office over in Southwest Detroit. We have another office in Dearborn, right on Greenfield and Rotunda. And we have an office in Taylor, a small office up in Port Huron, a couple of offices in Oakland County, and a couple of offices in Macomb County. So there is no reason that you cannot get a hold of us if you get into it. Preferably, you would get in touch with us before. Now, if you are the victim of theft, you have to come to us after, right? But anytime that you have a legal document and you need that legal document reviewed, a deed, a land contract, I'm going to leave the mortgage to Ms. Howe. She is the expert. You should have a lawyer look over it. And we will look over those documents for you and advise you and tell you what is a red flag or not. I have a client now, which hopefully Mr. Phillips is going to help, where she entered into a land contract, and the land contract expressly told her, don't contact the lender. Don't go to the Register of Deeds and try to record this document. Those are big red flags. Why can't you contact the lender if it's on the level. Why can't you go to the Register of Deeds and find out, does this person actually own this property? Now, again, as a layperson, that may not pop for you. But as an attorney, when she told me what was in the land contract, I said, yeah, she gave that man $10,000 cash for the land contract and then $5,000 in closing fees. And now she's into it, right? She's in the fight. So we are trying to help assist her in getting disentangled. But that's where you got somebody to fight with. Once the criminal has stole it from you, that's on the back end. We provide those services. There are, from what the research tells us, 5,500 houses in the city of Detroit where people are residing where they do not have title. Mom has passed, mom's name is on the title, dad has passed, his name is on the title, but I've been living in the house for years, and now something needs to be done, right? The city of Detroit wants to put a new roof on my house. They want to put windows in my house. I've fallen into tax foreclosure with the treasurer. I need to do something, but none of these agencies will talk to you because the house is not in your name, right? So you can't get that free roof because the house is not in your name. You can't get those windows because the house is not in your name. We have a legal aid, Lakeshore Legal Aid has a clinic every third Friday from 10 to 1 where we assist you in entering probate, getting the title transferred from your deceased person's name into your name. Now, I have flyers out there, but for the people on Zoom, how you get in touch with Lakeshore is 888-783-8190. 888-738-81. No, Friday. Third Friday. That's okay. I'm sorry. 888-738-8190. Now, you guys here, you all can go get the flyers. They're right outside. I brought 50 flyers, and there is a bunch of folks in here, and the number, 888-783-8190. 738. 738.
888-783-8190.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for the assist. So I'm getting old too. But at the end of the day, you will find on those flyers all the services that we provide if you, again, beyond the defraud. But if you are sitting in a house that needs to be transferred from the decedent's name into your name, March 20th is our next clinic. March 20th, third Friday, third Friday of every month except November and December. November and December is, holidays. Don't come out there to the clinic. We ain't gonna be there. You're gonna be there by yourself. Every third Friday from 10 to 1. That is in our Dearborn office at 3200 Greenfield Road. I got that one right. 3200 Greenfield Road. That's my office. We set up and provide the clinic services from 10 to 1. Yes, it is free. FREE. You don't have to bring any money. 3200 Greenfield Road. It's right on the corner of Greenfield and Rotunda. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. every third Friday.
Do you have any intake forms with you today?
I don't have any intake forms, but on the forms, on the flyers that I left out, there is a QR code. On the QR code, you can scan that and get into our system. That will get you a phone call from my boss, my office assistant, to set you an appointment. And it's better to have an appointment because it is a walk-in clinic. So that means if 50 folks walk in, those who already have an appointment, we take them first. And you don't want to be sitting there from 10 to 1, and then at 1 o'clock, like I've been sitting there for 3 hours. We will see you, but you gonna sit there for them 3 hours. So the quiet title, the HG, you have all the services that we provide at Lakeshore, which is a bunch. So we will look at consumer cases. We will look at, we are one of the partner agencies that Mr. Phillips talked about that is down at 36th District Court. So if you are in a landlord-tenant situation and your landlord is trying to evict you, we are down there 2 days a week and we will assist you. If you take nothing else from this meeting today, because very few of you raised your hand when Ms. Hill and Ms. Underwood asked you about your deed, go home and pull your deed. See what deed you have, right? And make sure that your name is on the deed. Because pulling the deed and say, oh, it's a warranty deed, oh, it's a quick claim deed, but your name ain't on it, you probably need to contact either Mr. Phillips or me immediately. Because if that's actually your house and your name ain't on it, there's a problem. There's a real problem. Outside of that, that's all I have.
Thank you. Let's give Attorney Donald a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, we are going to hear from someone who's really going to break those key terms down. So I need you to make sure your pens is in the right position. You are now going to hear from Emma Elder of Detroit Title and Escrow. Emma, take it away.
Good morning. You guys can hear me? Or is the mic not on?
Yeah,
Switch it out. We're going to start this over. Good morning, District 5. What up, though? There we go. How we doing this morning? Great. First and foremost, thank you all for coming out, giving us the few hours of your morning to engage and absorb all this excellent information that you've received or you will be receiving. My name is Emma Elder Howell. I'm with Detroit Title and Escrow. I'm one of the owners. We are a title insurance agency. A lot of you probably know what that means or probably know what we do. Some of you may not. So my job is I'm tasked with making sure I share that information and make sure you fully understand where a title insurance agency or a title insurance company come into play in any type of real estate transaction. Our role essentially is to protect your greatest asset. You heard that today. You're here because you want to know, how do I protect my greatest asset? How do I maintain my legacy? How do I keep that generational wealth? How do I pass my home down to my family? So what the role of the title company is we do that. We provide what's called title insurance in order to allow you to protect that greatest asset, in order to allow you to make sure your property is continued to be marketable, in order to allow you and establish and to set you up so that you can pass that home down to your granddaughter or your son or your niece or whomever it is you have a desire to do that up on your transition. Some of the key words that you heard today were warranty deed, quick claim deed, title insurance, title search. You also heard something about the house not being in your name, right? Or you was told, go home, look at your deed, and if the house is in your name, then you should be okay, right? What if you purchased on a land contract and you can't find your deed? Well, the question is, did you ever receive a deed when you paid off that seller that you was buying that property from? What do you do in cases like that? Or what if when you go home, you do pull your deed and you see that the deed is in your name and maybe your deceased husband or your deceased wife or the deed is in your name, but you got a quick claim deed versus a warranty deed? What do you do in situations like that? So that's what I'm here to explain to you. But first and foremost, what I want to do is I want to give out a deed today. I just want to write up a deed right now to this building, and I want to give it to someone. Are you going to take it from me? Are you going to accept that deed if I give it to you right now? No? Why not? You're going to accept it. If it's a warranty deed, you're going to accept it, right? Maybe a warranty deed. If I give you a warranty deed to this building right now in exchange for $500, would you accept that deed from me? Yeah, you got $500. You're like, you're going to give me a warranty deed to this building? Because it's a warranty deed. So we're going to talk about that. A quitclaim deed. Does anyone understand the meaning of what a quitclaim deed does or what it is? Okay. It's a transfer of title or transfer of ownership as it was laid out earlier today. So essentially, I can have ownership in this building. I may not have ownership in this building. I may have received some sort of document along the lines that I thought I had some sort of ownership in this building. And I said, I want to pass that on to you guys by way of giving you a quitclaim deed. What I'm essentially doing is I'm quitting my interest. Whatever interest that was, if any, I'm signing this deed and I'm giving it to you and I'm quitting my interest, meaning that you now have my interest, if any, and you have the baggage that comes with that. What do I mean by the baggage? If there's back taxes, if there's liens, open mortgages, if there's other clouds, other people that may have an ownership in this building, you have all of that. That's your issue now. You deal with it. You want to go and you want to try to sell this building, or you want to try to use this building as collateral to get a loan, and you got that warranty deed. You may be able to do so. You may not. That's the understanding, and that's why we're saying be mindful when you do real estate transactions and you accept a quitclaim deed in exchange for money, because a lot of chances you may not be getting what you thought you were what you were getting or what you were buying, right? So what if I flipped that and I said, again, I'm ready to give out a warranty deed today? The assumption is if I'm giving you a warranty deed, you should be in a better position because it's a warranty deed. The key term behind that is the word warrant. Warranty deed means I warrant to you that the deed that I'm going to give you, this property that I'm conveying to you, this ownership that I'm giving you, I warrant to you in exchange for the money you're giving me, that property is free and clear of any of those liens that we talked about. The property is free and clear of any taxes, any open mortgages. I warrant to you that I know without a doubt that no one else owns or have ownership in this real estate, this deed that this ownership that I'm going to give you. So you could take that same scenario. You got a warranty deed now, and if you want to pledge this building as collateral to get that mortgage, you should be able to do so, right? Because it was a warranty deed. You should be able to go behind me and resell that property and not have any issues, right? Because I gave you a warranty deed. That's what we want, right? We all nodding our heads, yes. Well, guess what? Take my warranty deed. Go try to sell this building after you bought it from me. Go try to get a mortgage on this building, and they're going to tell you you cannot because I never owned the building, but I gave you a warranty deed. So what you want to understand is in any real estate transaction, warranty deed, quitclaim deed, what you want to think about is title company, title insurance. That's what you want to think about. See, because the role of a title company, the role of myself, why I'm sitting here is because before you exchange any type of money for any type of deed, but especially a warranty deed, because that's where folks will get you at. Well, I'm going to give you a warranty deed. You want to make sure that the due diligence has been done. The due diligence consists of engaging a title company and have us do what's called a title search. Now, that title search is us pulling recorded documents from the county, those same documents that someone walks over to the county every day, which is why we're here, because we're hearing about deed fraud on the front end, meaning before you buy the property, meaning before you go give money because you're looking to rent property, meaning before you engage someone to do a land contract. So we're hearing about deed fraud from that perspective, but we're also hearing about deed fraud while you're in your home. You know, someone find out that you're behind on property taxes and say, hey, give me your deed, I'll pay your taxes and I'll deed you back, things like that. So what we as the title company do is we do what's called a title search. We pull all of those documents that are recorded at the county level over at the Youngblood's office, and we review those documents. Why are we reviewing those documents? Because our goal is to take all those deeds that are recorded and say, okay, we're going to examine them. We see where you've engaged in a conversation with John, and John said he wants to sell you this property, and John wants to give you a warranty deed. So the first document we should find when we're reviewing this information is a deed that has John's name on it, right? But we don't stop there. Just because that deed has John's name on it doesn't mean we're good to go, because you could have went to the county and did that. You could have went to the county and pulled that last deed. What you hiring me for? No. Not only do we look at that deed to see, yep, John owns it, but who did John get the deed from? Oh, John got the deed from Betty. Okay, great. Betty did have an ownership. Well, let's run John and or Betty's name through a database. Wait a minute. John has a bankruptcy against his name. Wait a minute. Betty sold to John and she had an IRS lien. Oh, but wait a minute. We just found another deed where there was Melissa and Paul on title. Melissa deeded to Betty and Betty deeded to John. But what happened to Paul? Paul didn't deed out. Paul didn't sign the deed. Now, remember, if you're following me, the last deed was John. That's who you're negotiating with. And we see where John got the property from Betty. But what we're missing is Melissa and Paul. Yes, Melissa signed out, but guess who did not sign a deed over? Paul. So that leaves Paul's interest hanging out there. So had you not come to the title company to say, hey, before I buy this property on a warranty deed from John, I want to make sure not only does John own it, but does anyone else have an interest in his property? Well, guess what? 2 deeds back, Paul did. Did Paul pass away? Did Melissa sell that property without Paul knowing? Was it just an honest mistake? We don't know. And that's what we have to find out before we as the title company can tell you, yes, you can give that money to John and you can get that deed. So that's one of many things that we look at. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because you may have your deed right now. And what you want to keep in mind is when you're looking at your documents, did I go through a title company? Did I get title insurance? Did I have an attorney review my documents for purposes such as this? So not only when you're buying property, you want to make sure that you engage a title company because you don't want to get caught up with things like this. It may not just be taxes. It could be other parties that have an interest. You may be on a land contract. Perhaps Paul was a land contract seller and he never deeded out because they never paid him off. So he said, I'm not deeding my interest out. You've been living in my property and you've been living in here for 20 years, but you never fully paid me off. And until you pay me off, I'm not going to give you a deed. But they went behind his back and deeded to other folks anyway. And now here you come getting the deed, but Paul saying, somebody got to pay me. I don't care how long it's been. So these are the things that we look for. These are the things that we look at amongst other matters. Again, bankruptcies, divorces, judgments. These are things that you would know if you went down to the county or you went on the website and saw someone's name as taxpayer of record and just assumed, yes, they do own that property. So what's most important is, yeah, I want to stay away from quitclaim deeds unless I'm doing transfers of titles between family members. And even then, family members sometimes not always the best too. No shade, but you want to think about family member and friends when you're doing deed transactions or real estate negotiations. You still want to say, hey, I need to engage a title company maybe to just do a search. It's nothing against you, Mary, but I need to make sure that the money I'm giving you, everything is on the up and up as far as me being able to get this property and doing something with it later on. So there's nothing wrong with the quitclaim deed, but it's not the way that we want to go. And when we think warranty deed, we still want to think what? Before we give someone money for a warranty deed, a title search, a title company, title insurance. Now that's the front end due diligence. What if we own our property like a lot of you do? I know the county isn't here, but you want to sign up for that Wayne County deed fraud alert. And I'm hopeful they have some pamphlets. If they don't, I'll share mine. But you want to sign up for the deed fraud alert on the back end. You own your property now. You're going to go home. You're going to look at your deed. And then you also want to get on the website and you want to sign up for deed fraud alert. That lets you know that if anyone tries to record a document, or not try, but they do record a document against your property without you knowing, you'll get an alert. And you get that alert and you look at that document and you know that's not your signature, you immediately want to take action with contacting legal aid and or contacting the county. That's one way to protect yourself on the back end if you're already an owner of a property. The other way is you want to go and look at the deed and you want to find your deed. If you cannot find your deed, you need to contact the county and get another copy of your deed. You need to call my office and get a copy of your deed. You need to call legal aid or United Housing Coalition. Get a copy of your deed to make sure that that deed is in your name. If a loved one has passed away, you take care of getting a death certificate recorded. If the deed's not in your name, we have an issue. We need to figure that out and get the deed in your name. You also just want to look at your taxes. You want to look at the taxpayer of record on your taxes. You want to make sure you're getting your tax bills. Perhaps you've been getting your tax bills for years, and all of a sudden today in this session, you say, you know what? I haven't been getting my tax bills. Why not? That's a red flag. That's something that you want to look at, because the goal is you want to be proactive if you're looking to buy or you're selling off a land contract or you're doing something, but you want to be reactive immediately if something has transpired and you're already an owner of your property. Same thing applies if it's a vacant lot. The same scenario, the same situation applies when we're talking about deed types and we're talking about protecting your investment when it talks about title insurance. So it doesn't stop. It's cash transaction, land contracts, vacant land transfers. If you're getting financing through a lender's going to automatically require that you go through a title company because they want to be protected and insured on that collateral that they're loaning you. So what we've learned here today, or what we're going to do, a couple of things. One, what we've learned: do we want a quit claim deed or a warranty deed? In most cases, why do we want a warranty deed? And with that warranty deed, we want that what? That title insurance. When we leave here today, what are we going to do? We're going to go home and look at our deeds, and we're going to see what type of deed we have. If we can't find our deed, we're going to get our deed. Because if we don't have our deed, or if our deed isn't recorded, or if our deed has defects, how are we going to do that generational wealth? How are we going to pass that clear title, that clear ownership to our loved ones? How are we going to maintain our legacy? That's the goal. That's why we're here. So we need to invest in ourselves, and we need to think about how to protect ourselves and keep that generational wealth going. Again, my name is Emma Elder Howell. I'm an owner of Detroit Title and Escrow. My location is 985 East Jefferson. This is for the Zoom team. I have pamphlets for you guys. 985 East Jefferson, Detroit, Michigan. I'm in the heart of the city, right downtown in Jefferson. The phone number is 313-846-5200. And our website is www.detroittitleandescrow.com. Thank you guys. Congratulations for taking the time to come and get this information for yourself. And thank you for allowing us to speak.
Thank you so much, Emma. Yes, Attorney Donald.
So what Ms. Howe failed to tell you, which she usually tells, is the warranty deed that you get from whomever. Typically what happens is you then try to go back to that person and say, you gave me a warranty deed. I gave you $5,000. This is a bad deed. I need my $5,000 back. They ain't got your $5,000. They done spent your $5,000. So if you got title insurance, you ain't got to worry about going back and getting your $5,000. Because guess what? Ms. Howe is going to pay that $5,000 because she was supposed to do the due diligence to make sure that he was the owner of that property.
Just like when I say I got $5 in the bank. Every time I tell that story, I say, you gonna sue me? I got $5 in the bank. That's what he wanted to hear. But he is right.
So you do need, so the title insurance is the part that you need. Because again, when somebody steals from you, they gonna spend your money. And you try to go back and get your money. They ain't got your money. And you want your money back. That's the insurance part.
Hold on, Miss Riley. We got you. There's going to be open Q&A time. We got you. All righty. So you've heard from two agencies that are dedicated to helping you on the legal side, and you've heard from Detroit Title and Escrow that can help you with your title search. Now, let's talk to someone who has experience in probate law and can tell you further what to do on the front and the back end to pass your home down for the next generation, as well as to ensure you're not taken advantage of by any bad actors. Suzanne Fanning, it's on you.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to meet you, and thank you so much for coming out. I want to thank Councilmember Waters and Councilmember Miller for enabling us to give this information. They're working tirelessly to get this information out to all ends of Detroit, so thank you very much. It's invaluable. So I'm a probate attorney. My job is to give you information, first of all, on a couple of other areas of fraud I want you to be aware of. And then I want to talk to you about how you can pass your house down to others, because the point of this is generational wealth. So I want to give you some ideas about how to pass your house safely to those people that you want to continue, because you've worked so hard for that home. So number one, there are different areas of fraud. You've heard a lot about how a company or a third party might come in and try and steal your home away from under you. I'm sad to say it's usually the family. The family are doing it. So I see this every single day. So how many of you have been in a messy situation where your great grandmother passed away or your grandmother passed away, and you thought the house was going to all the children, and it doesn't, it goes to Uncle John. And everybody's shocked, but Uncle John used a power of attorney 2 years ago because his mother thought he was responsible enough to help her with some decision making. So she made a power of attorney to help him write checks. And what he did is he did a deed with that power of attorney from his mother to him. Unfortunately, in Michigan, we don't have to record a deed for it to be legal. So oftentimes, a family member will have a deed made up by somebody who is vulnerable, they're old, maybe they have some dementia or other cognitive deficits, but they're very vulnerable. They sign a deed and Uncle John just keeps it in his pocket for 2 years. Mum dies and he flourishes it out. So sometimes you don't know fraud has happened until that person dies. The other way people fraudulently change deeds is when they use something called undue influence. So it might be somebody who's a caregiver or a family member who's very close, or somebody in the community that is close to that owner, and they use their influence over that owner over time and persuade that person to sign the property over to that person. And again, sometimes it's a shock to the family. You cannot sign a deed if you lack mental capacity, so if you don't know what you're signing, or you are under undue influence, which means somebody is influencing you so badly that you wouldn't have done this without the influence. So those are all all instances of fraud that might not be discovered as quickly as you might discover somebody trying to take your house away. But the good news is, as soon as somebody passes away and there is an estate to be opened, you can challenge those fraudulent, we call them fraudulent conveyances, those fraudulent deeds. You've got to do it quickly, but you can go and challenge you think one of those fraudulent practices happen. Other thing generations is such an important program. So what he was talking about is, you know, those instances where the whole family is fine with a granddaughter living in the home, but the deed's never transferred. And so you know it's never transferred. You can also fix that. Sometimes it needs 2 estates opened, and that's what Lakeshore Legal does so well, is say a grandmother passed a house down to her daughter who moved in, and her children lived, and so now we have grandchildren owning the home, and they're paying the taxes, they're keeping the house up, but we have no ownership in the grandchildren's name. We would have to open 2 estates, one in the grandmother's name to pass it from the grandmother and then from the mother down. But we can do it as long as you tell everybody who might have an interest, we can fix that for you. So whatever you do, if you do not have home ownership, please go to Lakeshore Legal and get those estates open so we can transfer title. All right, the good news, you've done everything right. You own your home, there's no fraud, you've checked on the fraud hotline, you don't have a family member finagling it away from you. How do you pass that home on to your family in the most efficient way? Have any of you ever heard of something called a ladybird deed? Right, thank you. So Lady Bird Johnson was the first lady, and she did this, so it's named after Lady Bird, the first lady. And essentially, a ladybird deed is a way, you know, if you have a life insurance policy or some retirement, you can name a beneficiary. Usually it's a spouse or a spouse and children. You're all familiar with that, right? You can't put a beneficiary on your home. So oftentimes somebody has done all this planning to pass all their wealth to their children, and we have to put a house through probate because we can't have a beneficiary on a house. A ladybird deed is a way to put a beneficiary on your home. And essentially what it does, so Emma's going to do a ladybird deed. She owns a home outright, and she's going to do a deed that says, I am transferring the house to myself for the rest of my life. I can do anything I want with my home. I can sell it, lease it, mortgage it, rent it, whatever I want to do. And I might sell it. But if I have it when I die, if I have a house in my name when I die, it automatically goes to my children. And that's all a ladybird deed does. And what it means is you don't have to go through probate. You don't have to do anything other than upon death, the house is in your children's name or whoever you want to give it to. Now, Emma raised a really good point. Having a ladybird deed does not give anybody an interest in your home. It's a way to pass upon death. So say that I have 3 diva children. I'm transferring my house to my divas. They have no interest in my house while I have it. They can't have their creditors come against it. They can't do a mortgage on my house. And they certainly can't use a ladybird deed as evidence that they have any legal authority over the house. That's not the case. But upon my death, it automatically belongs to the 3 of them. It's a really, really great way. And Lakeshore Legal will help you with that. Another way, and I wish the late, great Aretha Franklin had done this, is to leave a will. A will does not have to be complicated. You can actually handwrite a will. If I'd recommend you go to an attorney, go to Lakeshore Legal, but in a pinch, you can handwrite a will. It's called a holographic will. As long as the main portion of what you're saying is in your handwriting and you sign and date it, that's a legal will in Michigan. So you can at least have that evidences who you want the house to go for if you haven't done a ladybird deed or you haven't got to an attorney to do a proper will. Just a point, and I've had this burn people in the past. Just because you transfer a house in a deed does not transfer the contents with it. So people think they're getting a whole caboodle because you're transferring grandma's house to them. They want all the no, that's not the case. Unless you specifically say house and all contents, the property transfers, but you've also got to transfer the personal property. Does that make sense? Also, if you are fortunate enough, and I know a lot of you do this in your wealth building, you'll have a home that might be an inherited home and you buy that side lot just to either increase or get a driveway in. You have to do 2 deeds. You can't do that just because you do a ladybird deed on your house doesn't include the side lot if there is a different tax ID and a different property description. So if there are 2 tax IDs, you have to be aware that you have to include both of those property descriptions. So those are the really efficient way. I'd recommend a ladybird deed to everybody. It's very hard to challenge. And I also recommend recording that ladybird deed. You don't have to, but then it gets it in the chain of title. And then if you are good with your ladybird deed and your mother dies and the house is coming to you, the only thing I would recommend is record the death certificate, because that helps Emma so that when she's looking at all these documents, she sees, oh, that person owned the home. They did a ladybird deed, but here's their death. I know on that date, this person owned the home. So that makes the record very clear. So even though you don't have to, I'd recommend, first of all, recording a ladybird deed. And anytime somebody dies in your family that has an interest in a property, record that death certificate. I am here to help. I'm going to give you my cell number. If you have any questions, I'll be staying as long as you need me to. If you have any probate questions around houses, my number is 734-558-7179. I am not personally drafting ladybird deeds. I have been asked to. I'm stepping back from the law, but I can give you referrals, but I can answer all your probate questions. And thank you again for being so informed. Thank you again, Councilwoman Waters, for putting on this wonderful town hall. Thank you.
To Attorney Suzanne Fanning, thank you so much. Next up, we have members of the 36th District Court Bench. We have David Cross, General Counsel of 36th District. Pull your mic towards you. And we have Judge Clay, the newest member of the 36th District Bench, who would prefer to stand.
And I see somebody here I went to elementary school with. How are you? How's everything? Boy, to not see you for X amount of years and know exactly who you are, isn't that something? First of all, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. As it relates to deed fraud and what you've already heard already, oh, and I'm a member and I reside in District 5. Thank you so much. But here's how the court, although the court does not have the jurisdiction to determine title, i.e. ownership, here's some of the things that the court takes a look at when it has, I'm assigned to the landlord-tenant division. All right, so the landlord-tenant is where I receive, I listen to landlord, adjudicate landlord-tenant matters, land contract matters, and things of that such. So one of the things I take a look at first is I look at the file to see if there's a deed or any sorts in there that proves ownership. Now, additionally, what I do is I take a look to see if that piece of paper that's entitled deed, is it registered with the Wayne County Register of Deeds? See, there's one thing just to have a piece of paper and says this is the deed. At the least, I want to make sure and take a look at it if it's titled at the Wayne County Register of Deeds. What that allows is the landlord or the person that's coming forward with the action, that allows me to take a look to see if they have authority to even come forward, right? I only have to use a preponderance of the evidence. And then also what I take a look at on that particular piece of paper, if the address, I just take a look at it. If the address is also the address, that's part of the matter. That's part of the matter. All right. And then from that point on, what the court takes a look at is generally what comes before the court, if say for instance, if it's an estate that's bringing the action, right? The estate of Tom Jones. What I will ask the person that's coming forward is if they have a valid either letter of authority from the probate estate, from the probate court, or letter of conservatorship. Again, how does that play into the spectrum of deed fraud? Just having a sense that what's being presented to the court is not a fraud, right? That's being presented to the court, that it meets some of the checks. But what the court cannot do, what the court does not have authority to do, is determine title, determine who owns it, title. And at times, sometimes those matters are brought before the court, and I inform the litigants at that time that it's beyond our jurisdiction. That's beyond our jurisdiction. There's another thing, and I'm trying to think through it because I had my notes, and forgive me that I didn't, but I'll also be around as well. What the court does not do is give legal advice, but what's so brilliant about 36th District Court, at least, is for folks who are tenants or those who have a possessory. I live there, I have things there, I have a key there. There are legal agencies, two of them that are presented here today, that I generally say, go over and talk in 417, see if one of the attorneys of one of those legal aid agencies can assist you with their matter. And then they can then advocate on behalf of a tenant and present what it is that they need to present before the court. Thank you so much for your time. Ponce Clay, Judge 36th District Court, 36th District Court, and Landlord-Tenant Division. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is David Cross. I'm the General Counsel for 36th District Court. And part of what that means is we have 29 judges, 5 of whom are the landlord-tenant judges. And on a daily basis, I kind of have to advise them on various issues that arise. And one of them is often deed fraud. So typically, and I think Judge Clay sort of hit on all of the issues, but typically where we see deed fraud is when you have a landlord, if you will, a plaintiff coming in trying to evict someone from the premises. And believe it or not, oftentimes they're trying to evict the actual owner of the property. And they come in with a fraudulent deed, or at least if it's challenged, the tenant may say it's a fraudulent deed. Oftentimes, it's the actual owner saying, I own the property. Why am I being evicted? And so the law has a concept called standing. And it's not an issue of whether or not who owns the property or not. It's a matter of whether or not you have the right to be in the court, to come to court to evict someone. And so when Judge Clay talks about what he looks at in the file to determine whether or not you have standing, that's what he's talking about. Do you have the right to come into court to evict a certain person from the premises? And how that plays out often is one of the scenarios was the actual owner of the property saying, this is my house, I own it. And you may have competing deeds. And at that point in time, Judge Clay and the other 4 judges will say, well, you guys, this case can't proceed here. You guys have to get this issue settled in a court of higher jurisdiction with a quiet title action. Sometimes on the face of the deed, it may appear to be fraudulent. And the judge at that point in time may say, you know, I'm going to dismiss this case. You guys come back and refile and relitigate this piece. But it's only for the question of possession. And that's very important because it does not settle the question of actual ownership. And so that's typically where we see deed fraud, and we see it pretty, at least attempted deed fraud. We see it on a fairly common basis, where tenants who maybe just a tenant will come in and say, listen, this person is not the actual owner of the property. I've done my research before I came to court, and I've determined that I've been paying rent to someone who doesn't actually own the property. They may be renting out a piece of property that you own. You know, say you have some rental property that's been, you haven't paid attention to for whatever reason. Someone comes in and they'll be renting out your property, receiving rent that you should be getting, but you're not. And so the tenant will come in and say, hey, this person doesn't own the property. And so the court will look into that issue and make a decision based upon what's before the court at that particular time, or dismiss the case or adjourn the case in order for the issue to be decided. But the court can't determine, and this is one thing a lot of people don't understand, and so we have to emphasize it. It cannot determine who actually owns the property. That has to be done through a quiet title action in a court of higher jurisdiction. So because we, as I said before, we see it on a fairly basis. It's something that you as an owner need to pay attention to, especially if you get served with papers to evict you from your own home, or if you find out that someone is renting out your property, say a rental property or income property of any sort. So that's all I have to add.
Just to clarify one point on who the agencies can represent, you do not have to be a tenant. You have to be occupying the property. Land contract buyers, a homeowner who was scammed and brought into court to be evicted. There are income qualifications by our funders, but you don't not have to be just a tenant, okay? I noticed earlier most of you indicated you were homeowners. We could represent you and could assist you in that court.
Okay, hold up a minute, Santana. So we received this via chat online, and it says, years after buying home, Detroit couple caught an aftermath from land bank deal. So essentially what happened is that a developer sold them the home, and the land bank came back, and they were given a clear title, Miss Emma. And it was not your title company either. They were given a clear title, and they thought, but the land bank said, you got to move. This is our property. I mean, these situations do happen, and I can't figure out for the life of me, Ms. Emma, why in the world is it just that this particular title company just got sloppy or something, or did they know that they were giving people a piece of paper saying that the title was clear at that time? Or, I mean, I'm just wondering what happened.
I don't know all the details.
Right.
I saw the article this morning, and one of the key components that stuck out is we're off topic a bit, but this is why you want title insurance. In any of the land bank deeds, they have this clause reverter, meaning that if someone who purchases from the land bank, they have to comply with certain guidelines. And if they do not comply with those guidelines, the land bank has the right to exercise and take the property
I know,
back.
but see, they sold them a property, I guess that wasn't theirs. A developer sold this couple the property. The land bank comes back 4 years later and say, hey, you don't own this. This is our property. That's what this couple got caught up in.
Okay. I thought I saw something about the reverter, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, I think there were two different ones.
Okay.
They
But
were
I-
both land bank, but just different.
But either way, that's why you want your title insurance. So in that first scenario, the title company missed language in the deed, and they allowed that new person to sell to this couple. And since the title company missed that language in the deed, and they told that new couple, we give you marketable title, we give you our word, everything is good. If there's an issue, any issue, such as what's happening now, you come back to us. So can that happen? Yes, it does happen. But this is a situation where that couple now has to go back to the title company. The title company has to deal with the land bank. I don't know how it's going to shake out. But if it does turn into a situation where the land bank truly is able to take that property back, the title company and the underwriters are going to have to make those owners whole. They're going to have to reimburse them. They're going to have to fight. They're going to have to step into the shoes and pay the legal fees. Everything that it took for them and the money that they put in to get to this point of owning that property to now be told it's subject to being taken back. The best thing that they have is title insurance. It's still not a good feeling because this is your home. But what they do have is the title insurance to hopefully make them whole from a financial situation and or possibly negotiate, hopefully, to just pay the land bank to make them go away. I can't, it sounds easier than what it is, but that's why they have the title insurance. There are some cases where it could have been documents where the land bank didn't record that they were trying to take and do things. And if the title company misses that or they didn't see it because it wasn't recorded, it's still a claim, but it's handled different behind the scenes. But the ultimate purpose for the title insurance is for you to say, title company, this is your problem now because you gave me title insurance. That's what, not what you gave me, that's what I paid for, was title insurance for you to protect my investment. I need you to get your legal team and I need you to do whatever it is that you do. And I'm getting my attorney too. And if there's legal fees, you're going to pay those as well. If that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilmember and Emma, for illustrating why this type of education is important. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the program, if you don't have title to your property, you may encounter some difficulties negotiating with the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. Today, we have Deputy Wayne County Treasurer Dawn Lee Cotton to talk to you a little bit about what the Wayne County Treasurer's Office can help you do. Dawn.
Good morning, District 5. How are you? As she stated, my name is Dawn Lee Cotton, and I'm the Deputy Treasurer of Forfeiture Foreclosure at the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. I bring you greetings from your Wayne County Treasurer, Eric Sabri, this morning. So you've heard a lot of good information on deed fraud, and I want to let you know how that correlates to our office, the Wayne County Treasurer's Office. If you or anyone you know has delinquent property taxes and are facing foreclosure, our office is here to help. If you are unable to pay your delinquent property taxes, we have various payment plans that we can put you into, and those payment plans require, a couple of them, require that you are an owner occupant. And a way to see that is if you have 100% PRE. You get your PRE from your local assessor's office by what? Presenting a valid deed and your driver's license. So when you get that PRE and you come over to our office, we're able to assist you and put you in various payment plans. Right now, it is what we call foreclosure season because you have until March 31st to pay any and all delinquent property taxes 23 and prior years. So you have to get your property settled with us to get those delinquent property taxes covered. We offer payment plans, as I've stated. You can pay them in full or get into a payment plan. We are here to help you. The Wayne County Treasurer's Office does not want your property. We want you to stay in your homes. We want vibrant neighborhoods. We want homes to be occupied. And so if you need assistance, you can give us a call at 313-224-5990. Again, that is 313-224-5990. Or you can email us at taxinfo@waynecountymi.gov. So if you are facing or have any delinquent property taxes or anyone you know, as they've talked about today, it's about sharing information and passing things along. We are here to help. Also, as they spoke about probate, the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, if you have an open and active probate case, you filed a petition, you have letters of authority, and that you have an inventory list that lists that property, and there were some delinquent taxes, our office will review that, and we could possibly withhold that property from foreclosure while during the pendency of the case. So it's just always best to have that information, to come in and see us. I guess I need to push it closer. Come in and see us. Again, we are here to help. So thank you for having us. Yes, thank you. PRE is your principal residence exemption. So that is, you live in this home, you occupy it, it is 100%, it gives you a bit of a discount on your taxes with the city. So it's always good to have, to save a couple dollars, it's more than a couple, but you want to have PRE if you own and occupy your home. You always want to have 100% PRE. Okay, and you get that from your local city assessor's office. Okay, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Deputy Treasurer. Thank you. Now, the Deputy Register of Deeds sends his regards. He is usually here. And usually, the Deputy Register of Deeds would talk to you about this lovely flyer that sits on our table, which talks about how to register for the Property Alert System at the Wayne County Register of Deeds. This Property Alert System, once you sign up, is designed to send you an email when a document is filed at Wayne County that has your name on it. One of the other attorneys from Lakeshore Legal Aid, Mike Maher, always tells the story about how he has registered for these property alerts. And apparently there are several Mike Mahers in the state of Michigan. And one time he got a death notice. So it does work. And it will alert you if anything at all is filed with your name on it. Alrighty. Now, our council member is so gracious enough that every one of you who has signed in for our deed fraud town halls will receive follow-up information, flyers, Zoom links, as well as an instructional video that will show you how to sign up for the property alert system. So if when you came in, you didn't grab one of these, make sure you grab it. Make sure you take a picture of it and make sure you text it to at least 2 homeowners that you know in the city of Detroit. Now, I want to thank you all for sitting here so patiently as our panelists have educated us. And we now, at this time, have time for Q&A. We can take 4 questions, but pretty please note, this is being broadcast on Zoom. So do not spill the family tea unless you want it to be referred to later, okay? Joanna, come on and assist me. Raise your hand nice and high, and please make sure it is related to deed fraud.
And before I take some questions, I just want to briefly say the dedication Councilmember Mary Waters has to do housing policy in the city of Detroit is amazing. When she talk about deed fraud, she's going to follow it up, and she's going to talk about her efforts that she wants to do in Lansing. She also created the Tenants' Rights Commission with the attorneys and the judge from 36th District Court. That's the reason why the Tenants' Rights Commission was established, to educate renters in the city of Detroit for not renting out property that is not currently owned by the owner. And basically, we call that the landlord scam. It's very prevalent, especially concerning land bank properties. Also, Councilmember Waters made recommendations to reform the Detroit Land Bank. Also led the charge to remove the subsidy from the land banks, because she's advocating for reforms, okay? So give her another round of applause for her commitment to protect generational wealth. And it's been an honor because she has been allowing me to help craft her housing policy. And this was one of my dreams, to be able to do a deed fraud as well. So I'm just so grateful to work for her, and her trusting me and all my colleagues, Santana Hill and Jason's, orchestrating all these deed frauds citywide. And it was not easy to do, but I'm grateful that we was able to get it done. So with that being said, I'll take 4 questions, because I got to do what Santana said. So I'm gonna take 4 questions. I see your hand for her hand. Okay.
I have 4 questions, but
You can answer the question. You can answer one. You can answer one question right now, but you can always go back to the panel.
okay.
You can always ask after.
So what else are you doing to prevent the fraud? I signed up for this, and I registered my house like a week ago, what the title company did, and I was not notified. So what else? Because after they do the fraudulent deed, then we notify, then we have to go to a lawyer. So what can we do to prevent that before they can file? Before they file a fraudulent deed. Wait.
So, I'm sorry. Okay, because it's everything got to be on the mic because it's being recorded.
Okay.
Did you say that you
I filed the deed. Well, I was changing my house into my business name, so the title company filed the deed. I was not notified.
Okay.
I'm not saying that it don't work. I was notified on one of my houses, but on the house that
that was registered last week was not, I was not notified.
Go back, when you registered, you gotta look at, make sure you fill all in the blanks. 'Cause
Okay.
That's one of the issues too.
So what else could be done that the city can do to prevent, like, from filing fraudulent deeds?
That's a county issue. The city of Detroit cannot do anything about the filing of fraudulent deeds on a county level. What we're trying to do is be on a proactive end and deal with it on a city level, as far as educating the public about deed fraud. And Councilmember Waters,
So it sounds like you said you recently registered for the alert system with the Register of Deeds office. Is that what you did? Oh, months ago, you registered for, so maybe the reason you haven't received any alerts is because there hasn't been any.
No, they just registered.
Yeah,
Can I interject?
all right,
If
wait,
you-
go
if
ahead.
They just did it last week. It depends on how they submitted it for recording. So I'm assuming it was Wayne County. If you just did it, they probably still have to get an appointment to get over to the county to actually record, to submit it for recording. They can't just go over.
It was recorded, because I was waiting on it.
Okay.
It was recorded, last week,
Okay.
but I was not notified.
So you got a copy of the recording? The
Yes.
recorded deed?
Yes,
Oh, well then I don't know. I was
because
trying.
I needed to refi for my refi. So
Okay,
it was, I'm not saying it don't work.
Right,
Because my
right.
other property, I did get alert.
okay.
But I was just saying, what else could be done besides this? Because when they register, when they record the deed, it's already done. Then
Right.
now we have to go and get a lawyer. So what can we do to stop it from happening?
That-
They record the deed.
That's what Councilman Waters and her team is working with legislation on. So I'll let her take that. Yeah.
We are just trying to give you as much information as possible to protect yourself. And what I am optimistic about is the fact that now Lansing, our state legislators are now, they have a package of bills that are going to be coming down the pipe. And hopefully those bills will result in further protection, because then they might be able to empower the registered deed just a little bit more as well. Because right now, the register of deed, they can't do anything. If the paperwork is in order that people file, that is it. All they can do is stamp it and say it is done. The law does not allow them to do anything else. So we are waiting for those extra bills to be passed in Lansing. They've been, there's several state legislators who have a different bill. And I'm anxious to see what comes out of that, because this is clearly, it's a Detroit issue, it's a Michigan issue, and it's a national issue, especially in the Black community. See, that's the problem. So we'll keep pushing. That's why we want your email address, because as we learn things, we're going to make sure that we update you as well. And this is a continuous relationship with this panel here, because if they have any information, they're going to get it to us so that we can make sure that we send it out to you as well. It's a collective effort. We'll get there.
Okay.
Good morning. What is the cost of a warranty deed, or is it proportional to the assessed value of the home?
The cost for the warranty deed is more of the cost of the title insurance, because your warranty deed is generally just a transfer of ownership to you by way of a document. And that's sometimes driven by, if you're buying property, whatever that sales price is. So there's calculations there. So it's really hard to dictate the cost, but the drafting of the document, things of that sort, depending on an attorney you use, that's where the cost would come in at for the deed. If you were saying the cost of the warranty deed in connection with title insurance, maybe to answer the question there, I can give you an idea. Title insurance is a state filed premium, and it starts anywhere from $400 based on $1,000 of coverage up to $450. If you said, I'm getting a deed for 20,000 and I want title insurance, you're looking in that $450 range. The one thing that you want to keep in mind with title insurance, and I wasn't able to go into it, is once you buy it one time, typically at a closing, or if you're doing a refinance and you say, hey, I want title insurance, I didn't get it when I first got my home way back when, the one time you pay for it, it covers you for the duration of you owning that property, and it passes to your heirs. So that's the dynamics of it. And a lot of people shy away from it if they're not getting a mortgage, because they're like, oh, I'm not, they look at it as homeowners insurance. I'm not paying this annually or so. But no, it's a one-time cost at the time you're doing some sort of real estate transaction. But again, the premium cost is based on the value on that deed. So it would vary.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I bought a property from the land bank. It's not renovated yet. So they hold a quitclaim deed that they made me sign, giving it back to them, if I don't renovate it. So a quitclaim deed, this is a big amount of money I'm spending. How would I get the warranty deed?
So with municipalities, you don't get a warranty deed. When you think the land bank, you think Wayne County Treasurer, you think other municipalities, they cannot give you a warranty deed because they can't warrant the property from the way that I explained. They can only give you a quitclaim deed, and that's okay because it's coming from those type of municipalities. So the quitclaim deeds that you get, they do their back research and they do everything, whether the land bank is acquiring the property from the county or however they acquired their property, they do their level of due diligence, and then they have that authority to sell to you. They can only sell on quitclaim deeds. So that's all you're going to get. Now, what you want to look at or think about, if this property is your primary residence, you're okay, because I'm assuming if you just purchased it from the land bank, I don't know, I'm assuming, or if it was within the last few years, you probably went through one of their preferred title companies at that time. So you have title insurance. That's the one piece in there. If you're buying property from the land bank, the majority of their properties are transferred with title insurance. So you're good there. If you decide once you finish rehabbing that property and you want to sell it, that's when you want to think, I'm going to sell it on a warranty deed, but you'll be okay because title insurance was once involved, especially when you purchased it. So it's okay in this case, quitclaim deed, because you do have the title insurance.
Okay, now I just want to add, she gave you the professional response, but there's no guarantee with the land bank. So buyer be aware. They'll keep that lien on the property. And we have cases, I dealt with the land bank cases where titles was not cleared. And if they didn't clear title, they probably didn't do title insurance. But hopefully you stay in compliance. That's the main thing you want to do. So if you need to stay in compliance with them, if you have pictures of all your updates you're making on a home, don't just upload it to their system. Put your pictures on the email, okay? I want you to put your pictures on the email, and I want you to email the land bank and email Councilmember Mary Waters' office, okay?
One of the things that you can consider doing when you're dealing with the land bank, and I've had this in private practice before I came to 36th District Court. Once you've complied with the terms of the land bank, you could also consider, and I would advise you to speak with a lawyer, is to actually file a quiet title action to get the warranty deed in your name. I've done it before because the land bank is not going to clear the title for you. They're going to just do the quitclaim deed, and sometimes you have to go out actually, and it's really simple because a land bank rarely, in my experience, they rarely challenge anything if you've complied with the terms of your purchase agreement with them, which also means the reverter clause, et cetera. It costs a little bit of money, but it's probably worth the effort if you think there's an issue.
And other people's names. I've received a few pieces of mail and other people's names. Is that a red flag?
Well, that's because you haven't completed the process. And once I'm glad you brought that up. When you buy properties from the land bank, and you buy property for the Wayne County auction, you have to go down to the city assessor and do a property transfer affidavit, okay? Because the property transfer affidavit, you can go to the county, but if it's not done with the city of Detroit and the city assessor office, whoever's the previous name of the person who owned the property will still be on that deed. So it's a fee regarding to that. So you gotta make sure you do your PTAs, okay? All right, we're gonna take one more question. Ms. Ruby, you got a question? We're gonna have time for people to come up and talk to people.
I think you almost answered it. I bought my house in 77. I have a warranty deed, so I don't need no insurance. Am I correct? I bought it. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? You said you purchased your home in 77?
Yes, ma'am, and I have a warranty.
And you have a warranty deed? Yes. You went through a title company, you have title insurance.
Probably.
Do you still have your paperwork?
I sure do.
So you want to look at your paperwork. That title company may not be around. The title company may not be around. I mean, you know, we hear the underwriter may still be around. You know, that one's gonna be a chase. We'll have to do some digging. But if you have your paperwork, there's some sort of coverage there if you did in fact get title insurance, but we have to find out who the underwriter was and do a lot of backtracking.
So I should get in touch with you.
Yes.
Okay.
And now council members can do their last remarks and they are willing to stay afterwards to answer more questions from the audience. So you can still get your questions answered, and please do. Councilmember Waters.
Well, I have truly learned a lot here today myself, but even in my position as a regular resident that pay taxes and own a home, the most significant thing that jumped out to me today is so many transactions are made within family after the loved one is sick or passed on, and it's usually that property transfer deed that is never done or the register of the deed. I know people who've had a quitclaim deed for 15 years who never transferred the property, people who had the deed and never, ever registered. I just was speaking to Judge here. My husband's aunt passed, and the title company, this is dated in the 60s. She's proudly owned her home until death, left it for her family, and they've been out of business for over 25 years. So if you're a senior, if you've owned your home for a long time, please, you have to go, I guess, get it updated or something. It's hard to find them. We had to actually do a search, and the guy he said, I've been out of business for 25 years, and I don't know where the records are.
The title insurance records?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be a case by case with a situation like that.
So tell your children as they buy their first homes, please do the property transfer affidavit, and there's a fee. We had one before us where the land bank actually sold homes. It came before us in iOS. I'm on the Internal Operations Committee, and I think it was a couple thousand people who got properties, and the land bank said they would pay that fee. They would pay their fee for them, and then they didn't. He was called up on ethics because he said it wasn't right for these homeowners to actually receive that fee because that transfer was not completed. So can you imagine a couple thousand people coming downtown because they had gotten a $300 to $500 bill after having the property since like 2020 and did not do the transfers? And the price mounted up.
Thank you, Member Miller. Yes, I can believe it. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I can believe it. But let me just first thank all of you for participating. Please help us to spread the word. That is how we help to protect each other. I'm so very grateful once again to all the panelists today. I'm telling you, let me tell you, some of them, at least two of them for sure, has not missed one single meeting. And they're pouring out their heart, giving out all of this valuable information to our communities. Panelists, I want you all to know that we are so very, very grateful for that. You know, not everybody can be so selfless. And so we thank you. We thank you a lot. And we will demonstrate that at a later date. Anyway, so let me just say that, I was it Thursday night, I ran into this senior. I was at an event. This was after the town hall meeting, Suzanne and Emma, that I left. I had another event to attend. And the senior told me, she says, well, I've got my property over there on Finkel, then I've got my home. And she says, well, I haven't had to worry about paying the taxes. There's this guy that's been paying the taxes. And I thought, immediately, I said, did you sign paperwork? And she was like, well, yeah. I said, but she's dealing with a couple of deaths or something in her family. I said, listen, I've got some folks that need to take a look at that paperwork. So she says that she is going to reach out to my office. And Suzanne, you guys, we're going to have to take a look at her paperwork. See, they're taking advantage of our seniors. She was the sweetest person in the world and trusting too. And this is what's happening in our communities, especially when it comes to our elderly. And we're just going to stop it. Together, we are going to stop this kind of behavior. Do we have any victims here today? Okay, we have a couple of victims. Now, here's why I ask that question. And I hope we have your contact information, email, phone number, and so forth. Because when they start to roll those bills out in Lansing, we're going to need you to testify about what happened with you, because your state legislators need to understand what you've gone through, what our community is going through. And for those of you who have not been a victim, just continue. First and foremost, the best thing that you can do until they pass some new state laws is to do that, register for that alert system. Everybody in this city, if you own any type of property, needs to sign up for that alert system. And there will be certain things, as the panelists have indicated, that will raise red flags for you. The purpose of these town halls was to educate you and arm you with the available information that we have. We want to continue to communicate with you so that we can let you know as new information comes down the pike, so that you can further protect yourselves. I want all of our elderly population, ignore the text messages, ignore the telephone calls that you get regarding your property. The scammers just want to take it. And it is a national issue. When we first started deed fraud, I received a video from the city of New York where a lot of deed fraud is happening in the Black community. And that city council was dealing with it. So thank you all for being here. And if you leave us with the information, we're certainly going to try to keep you updated regarding whatever information that we receive. And will you commit to making sure that you educate those who could not participate, either virtually or in person? How many of you going to commit that you're going to let your neighbor or family member or somebody know how they can protect themselves? Every hand should be up. All right. Thank you all so much. Love you. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. And what's the first thing you're going to do when you get home today? I want to say one thing before we take off. After being in office for just 2 months today, I think I'm at my 50th day. And to be the newbie, it has been an honor to work beside Mary Waters. And I want you, when you think of certain things in Detroit, when you hear names like Tenants' Right Council, names like deed fraud protection, things like the HOPE application. Every time you hear those words, HOPE application, deed fraud, tenants' right, know that this is the author of each thing that's come out to protect us. Her and her team, her staff have diligently brought stuff to protect our rights. So I don't care what anyone says, Mary Waters deserves the honor and the praise just for bringing those things to our city.
And thank you, Member Miller. I have a very passionate staff.